require public meetings to go in person again? I didn't check.
It was
No.
extended. There's a link on our website, Liz, to the Conference of Mayors information on the COVID page. You can check it out.
Okay, so they extended it?
Yeah, and I think they're going to extend it again. It was about to expire like within the next couple of days.
Yeah, yeah, no, I heard.
Wow, coming in fast and furious now. Oh. Good morning, Mayor Conway. You might be muted, Bob.
I'm sorry. Good morning,
There-
Michael. How are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good, good. How have you been?
Good, hanging in there. Family's all doing well. Don't know anybody who's gotten COVID-19. So
Well, that's a plus,
that's a
definitely.
plus. Laura. Adjusting to the new normal, taking
Do
it.
we have our quorum, Mike? Do we have a quorum?
Hold on, Steve.
Yep.
I'll get 30. Okay, I'm gonna read off who I have on my list. I think Sandy, you're also helping, but on attendance. But let me read this off. I got Brad Burge from Saratoga Springs, Chris Wallen from the city of Schenectady, Andrew Krishik from Troy, Peter Comenzo, Rotterdam, Don Sopis from Guilderland, Jamie O'Neill, Malta, Liz Cormos from Boston Spa, Ross Farrell, CDTA, Bob Rice and Greg Wicksher from DOT, Tony Vassell from the port, Steve Iacetta from the airport, Melissa Shanley from CDTA, Bob Conway from Voorheesville, Chris Bauer, Laura Robertson, right, Laura, I got you from there. Okay, I'm gonna mark you twice from Niskayuna. Jen Saponis, Glenn Posca, Carrie, Sandy, Ron Schaefer, DOT, Rima, Andrew Jacob. Is there anybody I missed? Sean McGuire just popped in.
And Mike, I came in late also.
And who was that?
John Scavo.
Oh, John. Thank you, John.
Yep.
Hey, Mike, it's Andrew from the Village of Scotia. I just signed on.
All right. Thank you, Andrew.
Katora Vic, City of Rensselaer.
Who was that from Rensselaer, please?
Katora Vix, Planning Director.
Thank you. One, two, three, four, five. Steve, we're looking for one more. We have 10 members right now. Oh, Todd Fabozzi just turned in. We have 11.
Ready to commence?
We have a quorum, yes.
Mike, there's one more note in the chat from Joseph Graves that says just jumped in working on audio issues. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't. Thank you.
Sure.
So we're ready to go.
Yes, yes, go right ahead. Start it up.
Thank you, Michael, for doing attendance. Welcome, everyone, to the August 5th meeting of the Capital District Transportation Committee, Planning Committee. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very challenging schedule in these unprecedented times to join us to address the regional transportation needs today. Steve Iacchetta, thank you for allowing me to chair these meetings. It's an honor and a privilege. It's my introduction. Are there any visitor issues at this time? The advanced agenda was sent out by staff and posted online. We're following our normal protocol. So we thank you very much once again for taking time and addressing the important matters in our agenda today. Any visitor issues at this time? Let me mention one thing on protocol. I know Zoom works better when you mute until you're ready to speak and then unmute. So that does help the bandwidth, I guess, is the new science of Zoom meetings. But thank you for your participation. Any visitor issues can be entertained at this time. Just speak up and we'll recognize you. Going once, going twice. We move to item 3, administration, which is adoption of our prior Planning Committee meeting minutes of July 1st, which was also held online. And we would entertain a motion to adopt the meeting minutes of July 1st. They were distributed and we can address any clarifications or corrections at this time also, and they will be posted online. Thank you.
So moved.
Thank you. In a second.
Second.
Thank you, Bob. All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. Aye. Very good. Any abstaining or opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are hereby adopted. Thank you for your support. And we'll move forward into presentation of the CTC's Learning Center, Useful Resources for Local Officials by Rima. You ready to go?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much,
Hi,
Rima.
everyone.
Presentation.
Thank
This is a
you.
great tradition. Thank you very much. Yep.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rima Shami. I'm a transportation planner with CDTC. And I just wanted to show you guys the learning center that we put together. I made some updates related to COVID-19 content. So I just wanted to introduce you guys to the Learning Center and show you a little bit about where it is and how it works. If I could share my screen, is that all right? Could I, it looks like it's disabled. Is anybody able to share a screen so that I can show you all the website?
Mike
Or
has to make
can
you,
give me permission to share?
I think I just made you a host, Rima.
All right, so you should be able to see the website homepage. Is that right? Yes, hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just, I can't see what you see, so. All right, so if you go into under what we do, the drop down, you go under Learning Center and it'll bring you to our video library. And sorry, my computer's a little slow, so it'll take a second to load. But it has a whole bunch of topics put together, sort of a curated collection of videos that range from just a few minutes. And there's all the way up to, there's a handful of like really good content that's like full webinar length that we chose to include as well. But most of the videos are fairly short, like 5 to 10 minutes. And it's really intended to be a resource for local government officials maybe planners who aren't totally familiar with all the range of transportation planning topics out there, and then also just the general public, so they can get an idea of some of the concepts that go into planning streets and for multiple modes. So on the top here, I added a section for COVID-19 transportation challenges, and I can show you how the videos work in a minute. They're embedded in the website, so they're really easy to use. But some of the other topics, I'll just scroll through real quick. There's maybe 20 or so different topics with videos: access management, active transportation, and they're listed alphabetically. Autonomous vehicles, traffic congestion. Let's see, I'll just move down more quickly. Complete streets, equity, freight planning, infrastructure investment, land use and transportation connection. So, a whole range of different topics: parking management, TDM, safety, suburban retrofitting. And the idea with these videos is I tried to find videos that really pertained as directly as possible to our communities. So, not a lot of video content about mega cities in China or, New York City, because the kinds of transportation issues that they face are very different from ours. So tried to focus on mid to small size cities, suburban communities, and street systems that are similar to ours. So I just wanted to show you quickly what, how these videos work. I mean, it's very simple. I'm just going to click on this one, and hopefully my internet connection will cooperate.
The 2020 pandemic has changed life in the city pretty dramatically. In the height of citywide lockdowns, it could be very eerie to look out at a street and see no people and no traffic. Traffic in urban centers has been like a constant, but under the threat of coronavirus, many have been experiencing what life could be like without it.
A little after 6:30, and we're looking at the West LA area. What is different in this picture? Well, how about this? It's probably about 10% of the cars that are usually out here.
Traffic in the United States has been a growing problem over the last decade, especially in San Francisco, where each commuter spent time.
So you can kind of get an idea of how it works, and I would encourage you to take a look at the video library, and if you have any suggestions or feedback on the content, or don't see any topics that you would want to see in there, just let us know, and I'd be happy to to add more. We're going to be adding and updating sort of continuously. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Rima. Excellent tool. Any questions for Rima at this time? Hearing none, I look forward to going through all those videos and tools online. We're in some uncharted waters on context. I think David Brooks summed it up pretty well, saying we're seeing an unprecedented triple calamity. Think of it as 1918 pandemic, Depression of 32, and the civil protests of 1968. So 1918, 32, and 68 all together. And of course, that has transportation impacts on the economy and society globally. So with that background, any other questions on the website and the learning tools? It's an excellent initiative. I'm really ecstatic and pleased to see the progress we're making despite challenges. Any other comments around the table? Next item is our fiscal constraint running story. in a new context. But Mike, you got the table and the advanced agenda with our balancing act over 5 years coming, and we polished our crystal balls, and everything appears less than a 5% deviation over the 5-year period, right, Mike?
Yes, I mean, just for those who may not remember or not heard before, fiscal constraint of our TIP, our 5-year capital plan, is a very critical criteria that FHWA and FTA reviews on a regular basis. So in order to keep fiscal constraint within the parameters that have been given to us by the federal government, we monitor it on a regular basis. And every month we put a copy of our table 4, which comes right out of our TIP, in the planning package or the policy board package, so that everybody can see that, you know, we have met the requirements, we are within the parameters. Nothing exceptional, no exceptional changes since the last. As Steve said, we're all under the 5% parameter, and overall for the 4 years, we are actually 1% under programmed. So that's the good news. No other news right now.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions for Michael on item 4? Is this a voting item, Mike? We need to adopt
No,
this?
no, it's just for information. So, you know, we always give the members the information before they approve any kind of amendments to the TIP.
Okay, so that's an update on our previously voted on tip. Item 5, we get into our specific action items for the 2019 through 2024 tip. Proposed amendments. There are 4, A, B, C, and D. And item A is T6A, State PIN 1824.01, Enhanced Mobility of Seniors. This is Section 5310 program. Very important for the disabled transit. Mike and Carrie may give us an overview.
Just quickly, this is a regular program that we solicit projects for every few years along with DOT and our partners. Very important, as Steve said, for transit buses, smaller buses for seniors and people with disabilities. It also pays for operations equipment to encourage the coordination among the many providers. Carrie Ward is our program manager, and she's on the line. Carrie, if you could summarize what we're approving today. Well, are you muted?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So the information in the packet is the same projects that were already approved to be presented to DOT for funding. Now DOT has, main office Transit Bureau has approved those projects. So they're back to us just to add them to the tip.
Any questions for Carrie on this updated table showing the 7 total funding of $994,394, federal balance remaining of just $4,884. Carrie, will that carry forward?
Yes.
And then above, there's a different federal balance remaining. That's in the Saratoga Springs urbanized area. 23,218. So this is all in your advanced agenda. Any questions for Carrie before we vote on this? This is a voting item. Hearing none, may I have a motion to adopt the presented funding for this year? A motion, I can move it as chair. Moved. Second, please.
Second, Steve.
Thank you, Bob. And all in favor, please say aye or raise your hand online.
Aye.
Thank you. Any abstaining or opposed? Hearing radio silence. The motion is adopted. Item A. So we move to item B now, which is Regional 145, State PIN 1811.39, wrong way driving and low clearance bridge countermeasure set aside. It's a set aside that was in the advanced agenda from DOT. Go to our packets on DOT letterhead dated July 28th. And Bob, did you want to do an overview, or Greg?
I think Greg's going to talk. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, hey, good morning, everybody. So we mentioned this last as to be coming. Stay tuned, and well, here it is. The main office safety, traffic and safety folks are rolling out this initiative to first to prevent wrong way driving on the interstates by adding more wrong way signs, pavement markings. In Region 1, they're going to hit approximately 250 highway ramps, limited access highway ramps, where this, it's kind of how it happens. People get on the wrong way, unfortunately, usually under the influence. And they're hoping through some studies and stuff that the additional signs will help reduce the wrong way driving phenomenon, I guess I'll call it. And then the second one is the low clearance bridge initiative to prevent truck hits of low bridges. There's approximately 20 locations across the region that are going to get upgraded static signs, pavement markings, things of that nature. And we're putting these, even though they're separate initiatives, they're the same work. It's signs and pavement markings. So we're putting it in one project to get it done all at once. And this is the start of it here. It's almost $2 million for both initiatives combined. If you have any questions, you can feel free to fire away.
Any questions for Greg or Bob? It sounds like a very important safety initiative. Well presented.
I think Liz has a question.
Liz?
I just wondered where the list is of the bridges, what they're gonna address. 'Cause I'd like to find out if the one in our village is one of them.
It's on state routes. I have the list
It's
somewhere.
on, yeah, it might not be. I have to check,
Okay.
because we have some
Yep.
where the trucks keep,
Yep.
and it causes trucks to go on no truck routes through our village because they realize they can't get under the bridge.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I believe this is for state routes at this time. I haven't heard of hitting local routes yet that have issues, but I've inquired to see if they're going there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? The funding table proposed tip lists 10 line items with incremental funding of HSIP, Flex, NHPP, large urban, so on.
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah,
combined total of 10 aggregate items? Somewhere around 2 or 3 million, it looks like. I haven't totaled it.
It's just shy of 2 million, 1.965 million.
Thank you.
But it is statewide funded, so it doesn't impact our fiscal constraint at our table. So
1.9 to benefit state roads in the region. Any other questions for Greg before we vote? Going once, going twice. May I have a motion to adopt agenda item B, RG 145, to address low clearance bridge. We do see these accidents with fair degree of frequency, right, Greg? So this is an important safety measure. I can move it as chair in a second, please.
Well, Brad raised his hand and
Oh,
so did
Brad moves it. Brad moves it first. Thank you, Brad.
Andrew
And
second.
second by
Andrew.
Andrew. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Raise your hand. Okay. Any abstaining or opposed? Going once, going twice, hearing none. The item is adopted. Thank you. Item C is RG 131 CDTC .31 bus rapid transit set aside, which was in the advanced agenda dated July 28th, CDT letterhead in your packet. Ross, did you want to do an executive overview? Is Ross there? Or anyone from CDTA? Are you muted? Click your button. I'm not hearing anyone.
Ross is in attendance.
Yeah, I saw Ross. Ross, hit your mute or pick up the phone, please. Let's see. What's your recommendation, Michael? Should we attempt to cover their summary on our own, or?
Mike, can you unmute people yourself?
And it's *6 if he's doing it by phone to unmute, mute.
Yeah, his computer is unmuted, but the phone is muted.
Good point.
I unmuted the phone
Okay.
and the computer
I
is.
think it
on-
worked. Can you hear me now?
Ross.
Yep.
Ross, we hear you now. Yes, the green phone image is your face on the screen. Thank you for joining us. All right, we're ready for an executive summary of your item for Bus Rapid Transit. This is an update, I guess, on our program that we've had presentations previously, but this is your correspondence of July 28th in our advanced agenda. Can you give an overview of exactly what we're voting on today?
Definitely. Thanks, Steve. CDTA now has the funding in place for our 40 miles of bus rapid transit. The red line, which is obviously up and running, the blue line, which is under construction and will start operations in November. And then recently we were allocated the funding for the purple line. And so now that we have funding in place, construction underway and design almost done on all the different routes, we're taking the next step and seeing what can we do with BRT over the next, and the overall system over the next 5 years or so. And part of that is, on a separate side, is looking at where future routes, where the 4th or the 5th or the 6th BRT route is. But at the same time, what we can do to existing BRT routes to make improvements and enhance them to get as close as possible to the effectiveness of light rail. And thank you to CDTC, to Mike and staff for including part of the UPWP was a bus lane feasibility study. So that's looking at where bus lanes can be placed in the region, where they make sense, where they would be the most effective. And then at the same time, what this agenda item is CDTA looking to draw down part of our BRT set aside to supplement those funds. And that will allow us to have a study of roughly around $200,000, which one will be a feasibility study, but then once we determine the locations that bus lanes make the most sense in the region, starting a level of design, hopefully up to 30%, but we'll see how much we can do, at least a conceptual design of those different locations. So what is going to happen with this agenda item is we're taking from the BRT set aside RG 131, creating a new TIP project, T126, and then those funds are going to be essentially merged with the UPWP's bus lane feasibility study. That is the overall background. Of happy to entertain any questions. The one thing I will point out is we're going to be primarily looking at bus lanes on existing BRT routes or future BRT routes, but we're going to be comprehensive as well. There's even locations in the region where we may not have a BRT route, but having a bus lane or bus priority infrastructure, whether it's a queue jumper, something of that nature, could be effective. So again, big picture feasibility study, narrowing things down to certain locations, and then doing conceptual design. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Excellent. Thank you for an excellent overview, Ross. Any other questions on this combined items C and D on our agenda with the RG 131 and promoting optimization of the bus lane with the feasibility study as T126? Seems clear to me. Are there any other questions for Ross? Hello? Speak up. Feel free. Don't be shy. Maybe we're ready to vote. Everyone comfortable voting? Feel free to speak up if there's additional discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Sean. And a second by,
Second. Second.
thank you, Brad. Okay, we'll vote now. All in favor, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye. Any abstaining or opposed? Going once, going twice. Thank you for your support on the BRT. It's a great initiative promoting regional mass transit. All right, we're into item 6 now, the final New Vision 2050 approval. It's been on the website as a follow-up from our prior meetings. Michael lead us and then Jen Saponis. Item 6 on the agenda, referring to our packet. Michael? Is Michael still there?
Mike,
Mike,
you're
you're
muted.
muted. Steve, you skipped an agenda item.
Right,
Uh-oh.
item 6 is the safety plan, CDTA safety plan,
Oh,
presentation and approval. So
I'm
Ross-
following the advanced
Yeah, I can keep
agenda. with
going.
main- Okay. So that was C and D. Let me go back to the other agenda. I get 2 agendas, one with presenters' names on it. I apologize. All right, so going back to the original agenda. So we did A through D. Oh, item 6. Okay, yeah, there's been a difference between the 2 agendas I get. So item 6 is the safety plan presentation. Is that Ross or
Correct.
Michael?
Correct.
Yeah. Sorry, thank you, Sandy.
All right. Hello again, everyone. So CDTA, as part of a federal mandate, needs to build what is a safety plan. And this is basically documenting, it's in your packet, it's documenting what we do to make sure our system is as safe as possible. It targets a number of different areas, safety management policy, which is just making sure that the necessary accountabilities are in place, and the management staff is in place at a leadership level to make sure safety is prioritized. Coming up with a standard process, the safety risk management, a standard process to identify hazards, how risky those hazards are, and then the process to mitigate those risks. Safety insurance, which is essentially just a process to monitor ourselves and quantify how well we are implementing the safety plan and how effective we are at risk mitigation. And then overall safety promotion and communication throughout the authority. Another key part of it is key performance targets. Basically, that's annual targets that are set by our CEO and board in sense of accidents, injuries, et cetera, that we need to be below. And those targets are based on the last 3 years of reporting that we have. Everything's in the packet. I have Rich Cordero on the phone. He is, well, now is actually our previous manager of safety, but he was the lead on putting the plan together. Worked with Sandy and Mike on this. And we just need an action item and an approval because the safety plans need to be approved by both the Transit Authority board as well as the regional MPO board. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to answer some, or Rich can answer them as well.
Thank you, Ross. Any questions on the safety plan? We need a motion to adopt. Anyone moving?
So moved.
Thank you. Sean, second by?
Well, second, Steve.
Thank you, Bob. All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstaining or opposed? Hearing none, the safety plan is adopted as item 6 on our agenda. Now, item 7. This is the final New
Thank you.
Vision 2050. Okay, thank you, Ross. very good. All right, now back on track here. Final New Vision 2050, it's been on the website and very important. We've gotten some good press on it. Michael, you want to lead us on this?
Sure, I'll just introduce Jen, but before I do that, we did not include a copy in your packet because as you know, it's a pretty large document, and we have sent copies to you before, paper copies before. The document itself hasn't changed, so we didn't want to overload you with even more paper, but we do have a presentation that Jen will give now regarding the status and the next steps. So Jen, would you please?
Sure. Can you make me a host?
I thought you already were, but
No.
all right. Where do we do that?
If you go to my square and click on the 3 dots in the corner.
Right up there. Hit video. It's not giving me the option on your square to make host.
Huh.
Huh.
Okay, because it says that the host disabled participant screen sharing, so I don't know.
Did you make Rima host? She might be the current host.
I don't think I am.
Yeah, Bremen, could you click on my box, the 3 dots, and see?
I don't see 3 dots.
You should
But it
once you
looks like
move your mouse.
No, I can't. But it looks like I can still share my screen. So.
Right, so you're the host, so I don't know.
Advanced sharing options. You want to share your screen, is that it?
Yes.
Let me try this. Now try.
Yes, got it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we just wanted to give an update on the New Vision's 2050 plan and process. We, as you know, released this for public comment in March. Originally, we had 2 separate phases of public involvement planned with in-person meetings, events, presentations, and then a supplemental virtual public involvement tools. However, COVID kind of upended those plans, and we've decided to do continuous public involvement through September when we anticipate policy board, eventual policy board adoption. So as part of that, we moved the majority of our public involvement opportunities to virtual platforms. We expanded the New Vision's 2050 webpage to include links to online surveys, polls, and other things like being able to download all of the surveys, the meeting in a box materials, and other things. We had a funding poll custom built and integrated into our website. We've been doing social media outreach, trying to initiate some photo campaigns and other ways to engage with the public. We also developed a flyer that we were able to print and get to some of our stakeholders who agreed to distribute the flyers either at bike rescues where they were still continuing to have some limited face-to-face contact with the public, as well as food deliveries and book deliveries with the libraries. We set up a virtual voicemail box where the public could text their comments to, and then we launched a virtual public workshop series through the month of July, where we did 5 virtual public workshops open to the public, and then 3 specially scheduled workshops with some stakeholders. So this is just kind of a brief overview of some of the things we developed and have been doing to get outreach and to get feedback on New Visions. So like I said, we did a series of virtual public workshops, and these workshops integrated live polling throughout them. We asked people to, through their phone or through another browser window, to answer some questions, and then they were able to see the feedback live. So we asked them things like, what do you like what do you like about living in the region, and what does a quality region mean to you? We presented most of the major themes and policy recommendations throughout New Visions 2050, and generally there was consensus and support for all of these, as well as the scenario planning. We've been talking about the concentrated development scenario, and there was majority support for that, we saw. For the funding poll, as you can see, we did get a good number of participants who participated in that, with a real, kind of diverse spending in the different kinds of categories. So public support for a lot of the things that we have been supporting, and that New Vision strongly recommends we support, like continued maintenance, and of course, a multimodal approach to the system. We also received some written comments, email comments, text comments, so we have summarized them. Generally, they were supportive. There was nothing that stood out too much. We made some tweaks to the executive summary based on these, just kind of emphasizing maintenance and preservation of the existing system. So all of this material can be found on the New Visions 2050 webpage. There's also a YouTube video of the July 29th workshop. So you can watch that if you didn't get to see it. And then there's the summary of all of the feedback we received also there. Next steps, of course, we're asking the planning committee today to adopt the plan, and then it will go to policy board in September. You just voted on the public transportation agency safety plan. We do anticipate updates to New Visions over the next year or so. So we understand that given COVID and other changing circumstances, we may need to shift some things or make some changes. And we're open to, your ideas or thoughts on that. But we're going to continue to do engagement on New Visions even beyond September, to just on different themes and topics within the plan. And then, of course, we all know we implement New Visions through the UPWP and TIP projects and all of our linkage and other CDTC supported studies. And we anticipate another update in 2025. So again, you can see details on the public feedback on the New Visions webpage. And if anyone has any questions, we would be happy to answer them.
Excellent overview, Jen. Thank you. Anyone else have comments or questions on the Living in Dynamic TIP 2050 New Vision? It's a great collaborative effort of everyone, and we appreciate everyone's participation and input. And I'm glad to hear everyone's focus will be on continuing flexible elements to deal with new and changing circumstances in the coming seasons and coming year. Anyone else? Don't be shy. That's item 7. Any thoughts? Ready to move to item 8 is the air quality conformity is next. Any other thoughts on the tip? Great effort, everyone. So air quality conformity is another running story, also advanced on the advanced agenda.
Steve, we need a vote. On.
Oh, we have to vote on the final New Vision approval. You're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, item 7, we need to vote on. So motion by. Thank you, Michael.
Andrew, motion.
Andrew.
Seconded.
All in favor, please say aye. Raise your
Aye.
hand. Aye. Any abstaining or opposed? Going once, going twice, hearing none. We carry our consensus forward. Thank you very much. So the tip is adopted. Great work. That's how many years effort? A couple of years, right?
Yes.
And item 8 is next now. I'm sorry, I was jumping ahead slightly. Air quality conformity is up next. Michael and Chris O'Neill.
Yep. Hold on, I just lost my screen. There we go. So I want to share a screen. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is also a relatively long but technical document that you've seen before. There have been no changes. Just by coincidence, we actually approved this document last year as part of the TIP update, but it's required by federal regulations to approve it after every TIP and every long-range regional transportation plan update. So we're doing this as part of our new visions plan update. The good news is, we are in conformity. All of our projects none of our projects, put it this way, create a negative impact on air quality in the 4-county region. If you look at this document, if you've looked at it before, you see a list of all the projects on the tip, and all those projects are considered exempt. And we have no non-exempt projects because basically non-exempt projects are usually projects which add capacity and therefore have an impact on air quality. So there's nothing new to get into. It's a very technical process that we work closely with DOT main office, Patrick Lentiel and his group. There's also an interagency group that we work with that involves New York State DEC and a couple of the federal agencies. So relatively technical process, but a very good process where we do document our impact on the air quality. And just as a reminder, the air quality in our region has been improving since the Clean Air Act, which is the good news. So we do need approval of this document. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than glad to answer them.
Motion to adopt the air quality conformity as presented by Michael at this time. Is there a motion?
Motion. So moved.
Oh, Brad, thank you. And second by?
Second.
Thank you, Sean. All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. Is there anyone opposed or abstaining to the adoption of air quality conformity, item 8 in the agenda? Going once. Going twice. That is also adopted, carrying consensus forward. And our last voting item is item 9, Unified Planning Work Program, UPWP amendment. Mike, what is the amendment?
Okay, so
in the agenda?
This is part of the TIP amendment that CDTA and Ross Farrell described before.
All right.
In the process, they're taking the $120,000 from their set aside, and we need to include that into our UPWP. So what we're doing is we're asking for approval of adding $120,000 in TIP set aside funding to what you see on your screen, which is the UPWP task 6.13, transit planning. And in that task, there's the study for the bus lane feasibility study, which is the last bullet there. So I don't have anything in writing besides what you see on your screen, asking for approval to increase the funding for the bus lane feasibility study from the programmed 100,000 over 2 years to 220,000 over 2 years.
So this is a prerequisite to our already adopted item 5D Delta for the bus lane feasibility study project T126, right, Michael?
Correct. We have to amend the TIP and amend the UPWP to complete this study.
Very good. Any other questions on the UPWP amendment relating to our already adopted item 5 Delta for the project T126 bus lane feasibility study? Any other questions? Hearing none, are we ready to vote?
So
Is
moved.
there a motion?
So
Thank you,
moved.
Brad. Second by? Brad, I can second, okay. Seconded, and all in favor, please say aye or raise your hand on screen. Aye,
Aye.
thank you. Any abstaining or opposed at this time? Please speak up. One, going once, going twice. Item 9 is our last voting item, is hereby adopted, and I believe we have consensus to move forward into discussion items in our agenda. Status of solicitations is always of interest, and Michael will lead us on 4 areas, starting with the technical assistance program. This was all in our advanced agenda. Solicitations, Mike, are you ready?
Yes, there are descriptions of all these solicitations in the program. I'll just go over their status very quickly. The technical assistance program, right now, there is a rolling deadline for that solicitation, so that if you are interested in applying for that program, you can apply for that at any time. Sandy Miswitz is our program manager, along with Mark Consiglione at CDRPC. It's a joint program between the 2 agencies. It's been very successful. I think this is the 3rd solicitation. We've had a lot of interest in the past, so that's the status there. Complete Street workshops, we've had 2 applications, one from the Village of Boston Spa, one from Schenectady County. We are working on evaluating those valuations now. There still is funding in that program for another workshop. So if you're interested, please contact us. Chris Bauer is our manager, program manager for that. The ADA transition plans, we've had 2 applications, Saratoga City of Saratoga Springs and the town of Glenville. Those proposals are being evaluated now. Trail feasibility study. There's been a lot of interest from major members in this feasibility study process. We have answered several questions, and the applications are due this Friday, August 7th. One solicitation you don't see, so I guess we would add in a letter E, is our Smart Cities Studies solicitation. That was just made public today. And if you're looking for information, there is information on our website about Smart Cities Studies. And if you have questions, you can ask Jen Saponis. She's our manager for that. And that's a quick rundown of our, excuse me, our solicitations. Any questions?
Mike, I wanted to make a clarification about the Complete Streets workshops, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So we did convene the selection committee for that, and they have reviewed the 2 applications and are recommending to move forward with those. So I think as long as there's no opposition from this group, we did want to award those 2 and then go ahead with starting the process of coordinating with those 2 entities.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on solicitations? Your voice broke up a little bit on the trail feasibility study, Mike. Could you do a 1-sentence recap on trail feasibility, item D?
Excuse me. Yes, there's been a lot of interest from several members, and basically it's looking at a feasibility of priority trails that are already approved in the regional trails plan, which was approved last year. So a lot of interest. The applications are due this Friday, August 7th.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Any other questions on solicitations at this time? We'll move forward to item 11 in our agenda. Hearing no questions, the Pledge to Ride campaign summary is up next. Michael, you'll lead us on this.
There is a very good summary in your packet under agenda item Roman numeral 11. This is the first time we did Pledge to Ride. We had 129 people pledge to ride. There is a lot of social media posts generated by this. There was also a raffle for 3 winners. Rima, could you give us some of the details? Are you on still?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, there, like Mike said, there are 129 participants who registered for the pledge or took the pledge. You know, it came out, we decided.
Trouble hearing.
No.
Yeah, sorry, Rima, that broke up. Something about the bandwidth is not adequate for your audio. So yeah, we saw the summary, 129 participants. That's a record, and this is a great initiative to promote clean air, clean fuels, biking to work, biking to school. So it's a great initiative. Anything else, Mike?
Oh, just, you know,
We took a,
go ahead, Rima.
sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We did a post pledge survey. And found that sort of the hot spots of participants was in the Niskuna zip code 12309 and the Albany zip code 12208. And then the greater Saratoga Springs area, 12866 zip code. And then the rest of everybody was sort of scattered around the I raffled off 3 items. Allison Joseph of Black Girls to Bike Capital Region won a 1-month CDTA Navigator Pass. I'm probably going to butcher her name, but Tuan Turnbull won a 1-month CDPHP Cycle Bike Share membership, and Joe Vanilla won a 1-year Capital Car Share membership. And I thought it was interesting, like what the respondents, like what their motivations were. And a lot of them said physical activity, but I think it was over 55, over about 60% said that they rode for mental health. You know, this was at the height of the shutdown, you know, people were just going totally stir crazy and needed to get outside. So, but they're also doing practical things like running errands and going to and from work. That's all I got. Any questions?
Thank you, Rima. Heard most of that at the end. Great program. Anyone else? Next up is item 12, CC project delivery update with Jacob Beeman. Jacob, are you ready?
I am. Thank you, Steve.
Very good. Thank you.
So we've got a couple project updates from the last meeting to go over. City of Schenectady project, Kings Road Bridge replacement over CSX, had design approval granted in June. City of Schenectady, another City of Schenectady project, Broadway Mill and Fill south of Weaver Street. Draft design report was submitted in July. And a Schenectady County project, Highbridge Road and East Campbell Road sidewalk reconstruction and extension. Letting was held in June. So good to see those projects moving forward. Again, as always, we have our updated project tracking spreadsheet listed in the meeting materials online. So if anybody wants to take a look and provide us with some additional updates, that would be great. For the October Planning Committee meeting, I'm going to be reaching out to City of Schenectady, Rensselaer County, and the town of Nassau for their individual project updates. So keep an eye out for those.
And we have Mayor Bob Conway from the Village of Voorheesville on the call to give a little discussion on their pedestrian connectivity project that was just completed by the village. Mayor Conway.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thank
Good
you.
morning, everybody. Just wanted to, as Jacob mentioned, just a very brief update on our project. The construction, the actual construction started in early May. The project is substantially complete at this point. Our partners, Newcastle and Creighton Manning, both performed very well on the project. And we got a lot of cooperation and assistance from New York State DOT and the Albany County Department of Public Works. So we had both new construction and reconstruction on this project. New construction extended sidewalks to 2 areas that were not served before. And the reconstruction was on Maple Avenue, which is the main thoroughfare through the village. So I can't say enough. The projects went well. A few minor glitches, but they were addressed immediately. And the feedback from the public has been very, very positive. The idea here is to connect as many of our sidewalks as we can with the Albany County rail trail terminating in the village or starting in the village, depending on your outlook. It's been our goal to try to increase the walkability of the village, and this project has certainly helped in that regard.
Thank you, Mayor. Great to hear everything went smoothly.
Yeah, not always my past experience, but certainly in this case, I couldn't have asked for it to go as well as it did.
Very good. That's it for my update, Steve.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Mayor Conway. Excellent overview, and thank you for joining us today. Excellent project. In our agenda next is the item 13 is the DOT project delivery. Is it Bob?
I'm sorry. Can I just interrupt for just a second?
Yes,
Mayor.
Mayor.
I apologize. I have another call. Another Zoom call I have to get on. So I just want to thank everybody for your time today, and hopefully we'll be talking again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good day. All right. Item 13 is the DOT project delivery. Is it Greg or Bob might guide us on this?
Yeah, I can speak to this. I did email around a copy. It's the same thing as last meeting, the DOT delivery schedule. We have nothing changed. If you want, I can share my screen if someone wants to enable that. I'm not sure if it claims I can. Try that. So yeah, here and unchanged from last time. We have authorization for Route 2 over the Posum Kill as that progresses to advertisement for letting in next month. And then we have a couple projects out in December and February still on their way. There's not too much to report on that front. Yeah, I guess I can mention that the I-90 over Fuller and Erie was awarded 2 days ago. So that was good news. So that's progressing to construction as we speak.
Greg, I think another item interest on there, that the 146 project, we're going to have our first virtual public hearing related to the property acquisition. So we appreciate some feedback we got from some of the other regions as well as Federal Highway on trying to do the best in the new norm with a virtual meeting. So that's going to be a first for us.
Yeah, no, I forgot. Yeah, that's a good point. The press releases just went out, I believe, yesterday to advertise the public hearing. So fortunately, we weren't the first one out of the gate, but we're certainly in the top first 5.
Any questions on the DOT schedule? A lot of Northway resurfacing going on from exit 11 up to 15. It's good to see continued excellent resurfacing there. Any other questions? Can move into status of planning. Next is item 14 on our agenda. Anything to add, Bob or Greg? Good overview. Thank you. Any questions? So status of planning activities, all agencies. First up is the Transportation Committee.
Just briefly, we're monitoring the federal funding scene. There are several different bills. Of course, some of them have been out in the public for a while now, but the COVID-19 recovery bills, the first one did include transit funding, which was really, really great idea. There have been several ideas since then. Some of them do include transportation funding, some don't. FAST Act is the federal surface transportation bill that we're working with now. That expires in September. So we're kind of monitoring that situation. Excuse me. Most people believe at this point that there'll be FAST Act. Excuse me. There'll be FAST Act, not reauthorization, but extensions like there have been in the past, at least into the next year. So that's where the FAST Act is going. In addition to those two potential federal fund sources, there's also been talk about stimulus bills and something similar to the ERA bill back in 2009. And there hasn't been anything definite. There's been several ideas in the Congress, but nothing definite. Closely monitoring that situation, because if you remember during the ERA bill, during that time, there were some requirements on transportation to obligate funding very quickly, and there were some things that made transportation funding a little more difficult. So we're kind of monitoring that to see if nationally our association can have some input on any kind of stimulus bill, if there is one. Also, among the directors for the state, we're looking at possibly producing a list of potential projects for a stimulus bill. We haven't got there yet, but there's been conversations about whether we should do that or not. So that's what's going on in the federal funding. Interesting, but nothing definite right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions on the federal scene? I don't think anyone's on from Federal Highway Administration, right, Mike, this morning?
No, there isn't one right now.
Next up is the Regional Planning Commission. Sean?
You mean Todd?
Oh, I'm sorry, Todd. Sorry, Todd.
John's over in Colony now.
Oh, right. I apologize. Wake me up. I haven't had enough coffee. Sorry.
Yeah, well, just to speak to the UPWP activities, as was mentioned previously, we focus primarily on the technical assistance program. And so we've made some really good progress with that, with the Westerlo project. And I've been involved with some of these with GIS mapping. I did, I think, 16 maps for them as part of the comp plan process. They've got a demographic report that's essentially done and a survey that's being wrapped up now as well. So we're near the end of the deliverables for that. And with Clifton Park, we did an analysis for the town on the Western GEIS area, and I've provided all that information already to the town. So we're pretty much on our end of it. I know we're doing this with CDTC, so there's transportation stuff being done, but in terms of the demographic analysis and the GIS analysis, we're pretty much done with that as well. I don't know if John wants to mention anything on that, but we're good with that as well. I think we're just starting the one in Glenville. So the kickoff meeting, I'm not involved with that one, but I think the kickoff meeting either just took place or is supposed to be this coming week.
Thank you, Todd. Any other questions? I'd like to ask about the US Census, which is in some uncharted waters also, calling in the enumerators at least a month early, et cetera. Can you report on impact on our region and state that might have?
Unfortunately, I can't. I don't think I'm not looped in enough to give you anything specific. I can just assure you it's going to be perfect data and everything will go smooth.
Optimistic. I like that. Challenging year all around. Any other questions on the Regional Planning Commission? Great website. Thanks for the update. Next up is CDTA. Ross?
Thanks, Steve. As I mentioned, the River Corridor BRT is completing construction. That's being led by our new Director of Facilities, Jeremy Smith, who was previously at the City of Watervliet. And shelters are going up. You can see them on the corridor now, and the garage expansion is wrapping up soon. And as I said before, we're hoping to roll out in November. Service continues to change as the travel patterns and ridership continues to change, and we try to adapt as best we can to the changing environment related to COVID and the state's reopening. Ridership has gotten up to around 40,000 riders per average weekday, which is a big climb from back in March where it was below 20,000. We've also changed the system, and I think I've talked about this before. We've changed the system substantially, and we're actually moving towards what we've wanted to have, which is a system with less fixed route geographic coverage and higher frequency on corridors with the most ridership. We've been forced to do that because to maintain social distancing, because the main corridors with the highest ridership obviously are the ones with the most crowded buses, and we're trying our best to get each bus to have 15 to 20 riders per trip. At the same time, we're using our other mobility services such as van pool to cover rural areas and our new Flex Micro Transit in suburban areas. That's operating in Guilderland and Colony. So there's a silver lining to all this, and I may have mentioned this at the last meeting, where we're starting to be able to deploy the type of service to the area that it best fits. With that, we're going to have another round of changes in September. Luckily, they won't be as substantial as previous months. But again, with schools coming back or not, or in what shape or form, that's been our biggest difficulty, is how we provide that services to colleges and universities, as well as the high school and middle schools that we have contracts with. So if you have any questions, feel free to, I'll be able to answer.
Thank you, Ross. Any other questions for Ross on the overview and the new dynamic? Overall, you said you're about 40%, Ross. That sounds better than airports.
It's overall, that actually gets us back to a little over 60% of where we were. So we're at 40,000 riders, weekday riders. It used to be, it was actually approaching 60,000 in the beginning March. March was actually going to be looked like was going to be one of our best months in a while. But obviously COVID changed that. So it immediately dropped by the end of March to below 20,000. So we've at least doubled what we were at our lowest point.
Thank you, Ross. Any other questions on transit? DOT's up next. Bob?
Hey, thanks, Steve. There are just a couple activities going on that I want to touch base about. You know, DOT continues to be heavily involved in the COVID-19 support, both equipment and supplies movement around the state. And, you know, that includes our planning staff once a week. We're packing boxes and sending test kits and supplies to nursing homes across the state. And in a newer initiative, some folks are helping out, greeting passengers on flights up at the airport to make sure their questionnaires are filled out.
Thank you.
for some projects, I want to kind of the Albany Skyway. We've come a long way. A lot of staff work has gone into it. We have a set of plans. We seem to have conceptual agreement on the maintenance and terms of the use with the city of Albany subsequent to it. So hopefully we see that project advertised sometime in the coming weeks. Our staff has completed a consultant scope of services, and I thank Sandy and CDTC for their help. It's for the Troy Manans Bridge, the 378 bridge replacements, or the Pell study, which a high level look at potential alternatives for another Hudson River crossing. So that's working its way through our contract, folks. Hopefully within the next couple months, we'll see that advertised as well.
Great initiative.
We still remain working 25% of the staff are in the office at any given time, the remainder working at home. We switch it out quite a bit depending on what's going on, but we still seem to be able to keep all the balls up in the air. As Greg mentioned, that our pavement and letting program still in full swing. We did get a notification from Tim O'Donohue, the Federal Highway Area Engineer, that they will be conducting fire reviews, their fiscal and integrity reviews for local projects. So once they're looking to do 2 or 3 projects in the region, and once they've selected their projects, we'll touch base with the sponsors, what sort of records that they'd be looking for. Mike talked about the budget and the federal budget overview. Not to repeat that, but we certainly, as Congress goes to recess next week, a lot of eyes looking on whether there's some action taken this week. Last thing I want to touch on, I don't know if anyone had any dealings with the DOT's chief engineer. Wahid Albert has retired and is left as of last Friday. Nick Chuba, who previously the regional director, both the Mohawk Valley and most recently the Binghamton offices, is now in there as the chief engineer. So that's organizationally a big change for the agency. So that's all I had, Steve.
Thank you, Bob. Great overview. Yeah, we wish Wahid best. We worked closely with him on our recent terminal improvements, parking garage, and regional gateway welcome sign. So that's a good update. Any questions on the DOT front for Bob or Greg? Thank you, Bob.
Did you want to mention the STIP stuff there, Bob?
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, sorry. The end of the fiscal year is coming, and it's always the STIP performance measures that they look at. And so if anything has a construction phase in this fiscal year that's not obligated by September, we'll have to move it to the appropriate future year that you all anticipate letting your project. So Lorenzo and folks will be reaching out in the coming couple of weeks to move what is not going to make it to construction. There's a handful. It's not a ton of projects that didn't make it over the plate that I can tell. But the second layer to that is we're going to look at the following federal fiscal year and evaluate 22 to do for the unamended STIP performance. Just out of abundance of caution. I just did a quick glance. It appears there's about 22 local projects in 21, which isn't not too far out of the realm. And then, like I said, there's a handful this year that we have to see if they're going to make it to construction or we got to move them. So stay tuned on that. And of course, as the federal books close each year, if you want construction authorization this year before October, we have to have authorization in by PS&E into Lorenzo's group. Just annual reminders. So we'll be working with all of you, but just wanted to mention it here. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Bob. Any other questions on DOT? Is anyone on from the Thruway Authority, Mike?
No, Tim Wainwright notified us he couldn't make it.
Okay, airports next. Where are we at? About 30 quarantine states. So the view from the airport, I mentioned a plateau, but it's actually probably a gentle decline. I don't know if you can see this chart. National versus Albany. We normally have about 5,500 passengers per day, and we're still hovering between 900 and 1,000 passengers a day. So this economy is taking a hard hit. It's the state quarantine condition where the majority of states are on the quarantine list. I think is having a direct impact. So the state officers, and thank you for mentioning that, Bob, meet and greet all arriving passengers with forms and paperwork to assure their location for contact tracing and 2-week quarantine here. And air freight is continuing. Actually, freight's probably up just slightly, but we're still advancing a number of good initiatives, preserving and enhancing all our infrastructure. Exit 3 is beautiful. The new regional welcome gateway sign, of course. Hope everyone's had a chance to be welcome to the region. It's a great asset for all visitors to the area. Normally about 3 million ticketed passengers. This year will be down around 600,000 is the current projection, but we'll see. Every day is a new set of challenges. We are proceeding with our federal funded improvements for passenger boarding bridges being upgraded. We are removing the dual bridges, the over the wing bridges at Southwest. So 6 bridges will be worked on this year. On the military side, State Division of Military Naval Affairs is building 4 new hangars for the next generation Black Hawk fleet for statewide emergency response. Good construction activity in progress there. These are jet helicopters, Black Hawks, next gen. And with that, I'll open any questions on airport business. Going once, going twice. Is Tony Vasil still on? Love to hear about the Port of Albany.
Good morning, all.
Hey, Tony.
Thank you, Steve. Well, we have not experienced any shutdowns on either the Albany or the Rensselaer side. No COVID cases with staff, security, or the longshoremen who are the people who work the ships. Now, from an overall business standpoint, we are fortunate. We're up 20% on ships and barges and 25% on tonnage. And when you break that down into our main commodity groups, one is the heavy lifting project. That's the manufacture of generators and also major power projects. No major power projects this year. Any of them were moved to next year, and even then, some are in question. We were fortunate enough to secure a new forest products account from Sweden, which should account for about 60,000 tons of wood pulp. Now, that wood pulp, part of it or some of it, is going into a facility in northeastern Pennsylvania who make Bounty, Charmin, and Pampers, which are products you folks use and we all use. Scrap steel on the Rensselaer side, interesting, because the economy, the world economy is not that great. But we have another ship of scrap steel scheduled to load and be exported on Monday out of Rensselaer. And that normally goes to either Turkey or Mexico. And just reading that in the cruise industry, which Steve, like the airline industry, been hit hard. And they're scrapping, one cruise carrier is scrapping 4 of their liners, and they weigh about 150,000 tons each. So I'm saying, wow, 600,000 tons of scrap steel is going to be the Turkey. Is that going to impact us? Who knows? On other notes, looking at the Port of New York and New Jersey, they just announced the first 6 months, they were down $800 million. and that's bridges, tunnels, airport, and port. Davisville, Rhode Island, which handles automobiles, roll on, roll off. In May, due to the fact that the auto industry is another one heavily impacted, they were down 95% in May. Philadelphia, they handle a lot of steel, and the imported steel has been under tariff for a long time, and they're down 90%. So we're kind of smiling, but still trying real hard to keep it going. On another topic, wind. Wind is blowing heavy, and there's a lot going on. We, as people may know, we purchased 80 acres of property in Bethlehem, which adjoins the port, and we're working on establishing a some type of wind project there, and that's ongoing. So after all of that, that's it for the port. Any questions?
Excellent report. Thank you, Tony. So can you give a quick overview of your proposed development on the new 80-acre expansion to the south?
We have, it's all over the place. It's highly competitive because each and every state has purchased land, and you're looking at possibly various manufacturers. Because in Europe, where they're way ahead of us, all the manufacturers of the blades, of the nacelles, which are the engines, they're chock-a-block. Their order books are full. So there's going to be a lot of manufacturers of those products, wind blades, the nacelles, and also ancillary products, announcing that they're going to be establishing operations. We're in the thick of it. That's all I could say now.
Good luck and Godspeed. Okay. Thank you, Tony. Any other questions for the port? It's a very positive and optimistic outlook. Linkage and local planning. Any local representatives on the line like to report on your local at this time? It's coming up on 11 o'clock. We're still in good time. Speak up if you'd like to report. Micah, you want to do a linkage update or refer to local planning?
I'll just mention that we added our technical assistance projects to the linkage report. So there's a little more information there in that report, in addition to more information in some of the cells. So we think it's going to provide a little more, a little more for our members in regarding the status of all those projects. That's all.
Thank you, Mike. Any local planning initiatives worthy of mention at our August meeting here? Upcoming meetings and events. Item 15 on our final agenda is Bike Ped Advisory Committee is August 11th. The Freight Advisory Committee, August 19th. And our Policy Board, Thursday, September 3rd. And September Policy Board, Thursday, 3 o'clock meeting. Will that be Zoom also, Michael?
Yes. No planning committee in September.
Okay. So our next planning committee is first Wednesday of October. Is that right?
Correct.
Very good. Any new business, old business, anything to add to the cause at this time? It's last chance. Motion to adjourn. So moved. Seconded by Bob. All in favor. Thank you, everyone. Please stay safe and be well. And to you and yours. Thank you very much. Thanks for your support.
Steve, thanks for chairing.
Okay. Great adventures. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, staff. Good work. Keep up the good work.